Welcome back to my channel. My name is Robin. I garden in Northwest Connecticut, Zone 6. So welcome if this is the first time you've been here. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pulling some caladiums to get them ready for the winter. We're expecting a couple of cold nights, so I want to get those down, get them pulled out of the containers, and get them packed up as soon as they're dried out, which could be a couple of weeks actually. It's not a quick process for caladiums. And I'll show you what I did. I have three different kinds. And the next ones that I'll be pulling out after this are the cannas and the colocaceas, the elephant ears. I'm going to try and save those. And then, of course, next will be the dahlias. So the colocaceas, the cannas, and the dahlias all need to be um, not dug till you have till you have a frost. The leaves are blackened. You can leave them for about a week, and then you want to dig them up. Caladiums, you don't want to let them freeze. So I've never tried to save caladiums because this is the first year I've really grown them. So I've taken a lot of advice from a lot of different people, and we're going to see how it goes. So I'd love advice from you too. So thank you for watching in advance. Please subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll show you the process of digging up the caladium. So I started with this container. This has hot to trot caladiums in it, and it had one or two Carolyn Whartons. Most of them I thought didn't come up. I got one that snuck in here, and then the others were in another container. So this is where I started digging up. So I apologize in advance that my mic was not working at all, so I have to voice over this whole section. So I decided this year to try to save some caladiums. I have three different kinds: Hot to Trot, Carolyn Wharton, and Heart to Heart's Lemon Blush from Proven Winners. So I've read a lot. I've never done this before, so you can experiment along with me if you like. So we're supposed to have some very cool nights. I have gloves on, as you can see here, because they do emit a sappy substance, and that can irritate the skin. So we're going to dig these up. We're going to allow them to dry. Like I said, the nights are supposed to be down in the low 40s. So unlike the dahlias, which you want to actually experience frost, you don't want to have that happen with the caladiums. So once the soil is about 60 degrees, you want to dig these up. So keep the shovel a little bit away so you don't damage the tubers. They're not usually down very deep, so it's not very difficult. I really, the cannas in here were a little tough, so I had a bit of a hard time. You'll find that these actually kind of multiply, which is kind of nice. Make sure you label them. Because once the leaves are off, you're never going to know what these were. So brush off the extra soil, and we're going to let them cure and dry. Can take, from what I understand, like 2 to 4 weeks. So we're going to spread them out to let them dry, and then when they're dry, we're going to put them like in a cardboard box or something that's not airtight, not a Tupperware container or whatever, and put maybe some shredded paper or some vermiculite in there. You don't want to store them below like 65 degrees. So you could put them in the house in a closet versus a basement if your basement gets too cold. And then we're going to replant them back out like in mid-May, something like that. So make sure you're drying them in a well-ventilated area, but shady area if you have to do it outside. And then after maybe 7 to 10 days, we're gonna, if you haven't already removed the leaves, I already removed the leaves, then we're gonna pack them up. You could also use like a dry peat moss or similar. You don't really want them touching one another when they're in storage. And we'll see how this goes. In the spring, you could start them early in your basement or whatever, or in a heated greenhouse on a heat mat, and actually try and get them growing a little bit, before the season really gets going in the spring, which would kind of be nice. So over the winter, just check on them. If they need like a touch of moisture, so they don't rot, you don't want them to be bone dry, but you also don't want them to be wet. So we'll see how this experiment goes. If you've done this, please let me know. And if you have any suggestions, anything that I haven't maybe mentioned, please let me know. I'd love to know how you're storing them. Next up, I'll be storing both my colocaceas, my cannas, and then my dahlias. Those all require a hard frost. You want the leaves to blacken and die back before you actually do those. But caladiums are different, and that's why we've already actually had 2 cold nights. So the ones in the hot to trot in this container were already pretty darn wilted. This one I'm digging up right here is the Carolyn Wharton. And after I got all done, I realized I have more Carolyn Whartons in another container. So I had to go back outside and go dig those out. I had those in a container with a begonia surefire rose. So I'll show you what the containers used to look like. Again, obviously I'm not going to plant anything in these containers at this point. It's fall. I've got enough other yard work. I'm not going to worry about containers at this point, as far as like putting mums or something else in them. The cannas will come out. The surefire rose begonia I already pulled out. The Prince Tut you'll see. I'm just going to leave these containers right now until I'm ready to bring them inside. But I have enough other work to get things done, start cleaning up containers. This was an old fireplace pot, but it's really rotted out. My husband just told me I'm going to have to throw it out, which makes me kind of sad because it worked out as a great planter for the last couple of years. So watch the rest of this video, and I'd love your suggestions. Well, sorry, digging these up, my audio was not working at all, and my mic is not working at the moment. So I just dug up the hot to trot, caladiums, and I'll go back and voice over and show you what I did. And there's the Carolyn Wharton, and now I'll go get the heart to heart lemon blush from the other container with the Prince Tut. But here's the cannas. They're still in their container, and I'm going to leave those until the leaves blacken, and then I'm going to try and save those. So I'll go back and let's go get the other ones now. Okay, so I will go back and voice over the beginning. Sorry, I do have gloves on. I'm out here first thing in the morning. I realize that we're going to have some really cool nights. Now the Prince Tut is looking great, but the caladiums have to come out. So these were heart to heart lemon blush. So I'm going to get these out, and then they'll have to dry. It could take a couple weeks for them to dry. I'm not even sure I can get these out of this container because this container is seriously packed. Let's see what we can do about getting these out without destroying the tubers. I have a feeling the whole container may just come out. So they're not very far under the ground. So we're going to get all the dirt off. We're going to let them dry. We'll cut the leaves off. But for this morning, first thing, I just want to get these things out of the containers since it's supposed to be pretty cold for a couple of nights, like 44 degrees. And the caladiums don't like that. Some tropicals, including dahlias, which I don't consider tropical, but some actually need the leaves to, you need a hard frost to let things die back, like you do with dahlias. So here's all the corms or tubers, whatever, rhizomes, I don't know, whatever they're called. We'll figure that out. And typically you usually do get, just like with cannas, you do get them to divide. And you do get more than you started with, which is kind of nice. So it's a really nice way to increase your stash of plants. Let's see if we can. Again, I'm not going to be, oh, big bug. I'm not going to be saving I mean, I'm not going to be replanting right now anything in this container because it's going to, the Prince Tut's an annual. The container's going to come in for the winter. Like I said, I'm not even bothering right now to pull the leaves. I will get those all cut off. But it's early. I really just need to get this done because I wasn't planning on doing this. What I was planning on originally doing this morning was making a video for you on flower arranging. I used to do that professionally. And I have a lot of people that have been asking me, please do a video. So I figured while I had a lot of dahlias and cosmos and other plants, I would do a video on that. I'm not sure I'm going to get to that this morning because I have to go somewhere today. So let's try and get this stuff out of here. And then we're going to let these things dry and cure. I'm trying very carefully not to ruin this. Okay. Get these out of here. Try and find the roots that are buried in with these. There it is. Okay. You can see I really had this container packed. Really. I guess I never dreamed that well, I've got to say, I'm really happy with the container. I never dreamed the Prince Tut would get this big. I love it. Make sure you tag. You know, if you're putting something in storage for the winter, you won't remember. Make sure you tag it. So I've got the tags, as you saw. Ooh, this one I don't think is going to come out. Might actually have to take the Prince Tut out to get this out. I don't think I can get this one out. It's too bad the Prince Tut won't save, huh? I love that. I understand there's a new one called Queen Tut. It's going to come out next year. Like I said, the Prince Tut is going to go anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference. That I can't save. Okay. So I will leave these out under cover to dry a little bit before I bring them inside, just to make sure there's no bugs in here, because I saw, right in my eye, I saw some bugs, and I don't want them coming into my basement. So we'll talk a little bit more about how to save caladiums, cannas, colocaceas. You can see right here, got some colocaceas right there. Elephant ears that I'm going to try to save, and I've got a few cannas. So there's the stash. So here's what the containers look like beforehand: Surefire Rose Begonia and Carolyn Wharton Caladiums. And this did really well in the shade. I didn't think these caladiums were actually going to work because I dug them out of the other container that had the big cannas in them, but they didn't. And then here is Prince Tut, and these are the lemon blush caladiums, the Heart to Heart lemon blush. These did so well, and I really jammed this container full. That's an understatement. So here's the container that had the Hot to Trot caladiums, 1 or 2 Carolyn Whartons and the cannas, and then the dug up caladium bulbs. Okay, they're tuberous corms. Here's a view from my porch. Just thought I'd leave you with some views of the yard. The hawthorn trees are absolutely covered in berries, which will make the birds very happy in a couple of months when they harden off. So enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video. it's almost time to start getting the beds ready for fall, for winter. We have a lot of cleanup to start doing. Things that can be cut down should start getting cut down. You want to start, if there's anything that needs to be changed, winter's going to come quicker than we think it is. So things that need to be lifted out of the ground, start planning for that stuff. Get your garden beds cleaned up. Figure out what worked, what didn't work, what you want to change, and get on it at this time of the year. It's a great time, like I've said, to reevaluate your garden. Maybe there's a plant you've always wanted, and there's something else that's really not working. So evaluate that. Do you have things in containers that need to come out of the ground, that you want to save? This is a good time to start thinking about, when do they need to come out? Do they wait till after the frost, or do they get cut before the frost? These are things you really want to consider when you're going to start saving plants. So hope you find this hope you find this helpful.